Then I went to breathwork, and there's so many things here and layers that I haven't touched on because it's living in my nervous system. Most of that work I did was in my head. I didn't do the work that was living in my nervous system. So this is a nervous system thing. This is a nervous system reset. This is stripping those old things that are living in your body that you don't even realize is in there.
Have you ever felt something was wrong but couldn't explain it? Like the person you love was slowly chipping away at your sense of self?
We've been there. Different marriages, but to the same man, with the same toxic pattern. But God was still working.
We're Lizzie and Dina, women of faith, survivors, and truth tellers.
Surviving toxic relationships is for any woman stuck in confusion, healing after betrayal, or searching for her voice again.
You are not crazy.
You are deeply loved. Hey everybody, welcome today to another episode of Surviving Toxic Relationships. Today we're so excited to have Jon Paul Crimi with us. And Jon Paul is a breathwork pioneer known for his no-filter, East Coast edge, and grounded, results-driven approach to transformation. Originally from Boston, he became one of Los Angeles' most sought-after celebrity trainers and sobriety coaches, working with Oscar winners, Olympic athletes, and top executives. After discovering breathwork through his friend Matthew Perry, y'all, he developed his own powerful style focused on emotional resilience, trauma integration, and real-world results. Jon Paul has led workshops for companies like Nike, LinkedIn. He's trained facilitators around the world and helped bring breathwork into the mainstream for skeptics, leaders, and everyday people alike. So welcome today, Jon Paul. We are so happy to have you, and I can't wait to dive in.
I'm so happy to be here, and thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. I loved it.
I love that you've worked with all kinds of actors and actresses and Olympians and everything else, but you're now here with us. And that'd probably be one of my first questions after you tell your story.
Yeah, I'm trying to bring this to the mainstream even more, to people who would not do this work. Celebrities tend to be the first people to try new things and anything that's going to make them feel better. And they're the pioneers, which was great that I got to work with all those people. But now I really want to help housewives that are stressed out, that have all this anxiety and stress, and firefighters and policemen and just the everyday people who are dealing with a lot of stuff. And they may not think to do something like breathwork. They may not want to go to a therapy session, or they're doing therapy and they're finding, well, I'm still doing this stuff, these patterns. I've got these patterns I'm repeating over and over. So that's why I'm here. I'm trying to bring this out. I'm trying to spread this as wide as I can and change as many lives as I can with the incredible power of breathwork. And I guess my story is I moved from Boston to Los Angeles to become an actor. I had some health issues in my early 20s. I have alopecia. I lost all my hair. Well, I didn't lose it originally. I was taking prednisone to try and keep the hair and getting cortisone shots in my eyebrows and in my head. And it was this really painful process. And I started taking Vicodin when I go get the cortisone shots because it was so painful. I get like 100, 150 cortisone shots in my eyebrows and my head. And so I take Vicodin for the pain, but then I started eating it all the time. I started taking the Vicodin all the time because it's also an emotional pain blocker. I didn't want to feel the feelings around, I'm losing my looks. I'm losing this thing that my self-esteem, my self-worth is wrapped up in. So if your self-esteem and your self-worth is wrapped up in your looks or your marriage or your career, and then that gets ripped away, who are you? What are you, right? And so I started drinking way too much and taking these pills at the same time. And I basically bottomed out from drugs and alcohol. And that put me on a really powerful path because I got sober. And then I went off the prednisone, I went off the cortisone, and I lost all my hair. And I looked totally different than what I look like. And it was a really interesting first year of sobriety where I look in the mirror, I didn't recognize myself. But also I was doing all this inner work on myself and was changing inside and out. So it was a massive transformational year, kind of like a butterfly coming out of the cocoon, the caterpillar to the butterfly. And you need that struggle. You need to push and have that resistance to break out of the cocoon in order for you to pump the blood into your wings to spread your wings and fly. And I started helping lots of people in sobriety, which was really beautiful, really powerful, changed my life. And The way I found breathwork was, through Matthew Perry, my really dear friend, Matthew. Someone had taken him to see this guy and he told me about it. And I said, that sounds ridiculous, Matthew. Like he was asphyxiating you. Something weird was going on there. And he said, well, you're my only friend who's open-minded enough to try this. So I bought you a session. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, I want you to do it so we can talk about it. So I went and did the session with the guy and I had this incredible experience. And it was a different type of breath work than the kind that I teach now, but it sent me down this rabbit hole of what else is out there. What other kinds of breath work are out there? Breath work is an umbrella term. It's like saying fitness. If I said, I do fitness, you'd be like, okay, what do you do? Do you do CrossFit? Do you do Soul Cycle? What do you mean fitness, right? So there's all these different types of breath work. And so sometimes people will go, I've done breath work, and they're talking about box breathing, or they're talking about Wim Hof breathing, or they're talking about some other type of breath work. And I'm like, have you done circular breath work, conscious connected breathing? That's what I teach. That's the main thing I teach, because that type of breath work is really intense and it feels like 20 years of therapy without saying a word. People have these massive emotional releases and they have upheavals and traumas are released and all this stuff comes up. And it's a very different type of breath work. So I think that's always the first thing I like to get out there. There's a lot of different types of breath work. And I'm speaking about this one specific type that I've been teaching for 15 years and that I teach other people how to teach it. I do trainings. I've certified over 3,000 people in this method, in this technique of mine. And so that they're out there helping other people. And I love that. And so that's the first thing I guess I want to establish.
First of all, I had never done breath work before. It was like you described. I had only tried box breathing and was a big believer in box breathing, that was something you do. Lizzie and I both obviously coming out of a toxic relationship and having an audience that is either in a toxic relationship or coming out, or they've come out and they're having this PTSD situation. We try to teach techniques like box breathing, or at least speak about them. So you sent me a free class and said, I would love for you to try this. And the only one I could get was the one that was for, I think, digital media or social media, I think it was called.
News and social media technology detox.
There you go. And I thought, well, this isn't exactly the one I would really want to sign up for, because I tend to have some anxiety and I keep being told I have nervous system kind of issues that have manifested into health issues. And so I was like, well, this probably wouldn't be really the one I would need, but I mean, what the heck? He gave it to me. We're going to see him tomorrow. I'll just do it. And it was the replay. So I didn't even have a chance because I found it the next day after your live session. I will tell you, I am still dumbfounded. I am not a big breath work, woo woo. I just am not that person, right?
Yeah, neither am I.
No, because you're playing Fleetwood Mac during it. I was like, Fleetwood Mac and all these amazing songs that I love. I was expecting this new agey thing.
Well, that's what it was when I found it. That's how it was. It was exactly what you were expecting when I found it. Like, it was new agey and it was woo woo, and people said there was no science in there. And I was like, if somebody taught this in a way where they taught the science and they were funny and they pushed you, nobody pushed you, and they played cool music, they'd have hundreds of people in the room, maybe thousands of people. And I was right, but it took a little bit to get people to come try it.
Well, yeah, because I think the idea of breath work, especially when you call it circular breath work, I don't know, it just sounds like it's supposed to be accompanied with very new age type things and kind of weird music and stuff, ayahuasca kind of thing. Yeah. So you're expecting something weird like that. But I was like, no, open mind, we're going to do it. And oh my goodness, you start out and you do 30 full minutes of breath work, but you keep changing the music, you keep coaching the person. You've got, this is what you can do. And then after the 30 minutes, then you start doing some really amazing, what would you call that? What do you call the things that you do to kind of guide people to go deeper and to release that nervous dysfunction?
So when a lot of people have these big emotional releases, they can release a trauma. And I always say trauma is passed on through the DNA. So some of your stuff isn't even your stuff. You thought you were screwed up because of your parents and you're right. It is their fault, right? Call them and let them know after class. No, I'm kidding. Don't call them and let them know after class. Don't text or call any exes. That's always a terrible idea, right? And especially after breath work. But so what happened was originally when I found it, the music was bad. They didn't do a good presentation. They didn't tell you all the things that can happen, like the tetany. People thought they were having a stroke. If you don't tell people your hands can cramp up, like they're going to think they're having a stroke in the class. So they didn't prepare people properly. They played horrible music. I think I've said that, but I have to emphasize that. And then afterwards, you just be like, wait, all this stuff came up, all this heavy stuff, right? And I had this big emotional release, but I walked out of there like, oh my God, I forgot that thing happened when I was 8 years old. And so I wanted people to leave filled with gratitude and love. That's what really matters. And so I added these things. I added a scream at the end. We do a big, huge scream, which is like, when in life do you get to scream? When in life do you get to let it out? And if you do, you feel like it's like things have gone too far, usually, right? And so I added this yell at the end. You get to do a couple yells, and a lot of women come up to me and they're like, that is my favorite part of the class, the yell at the end, especially the in-person class when I have the gongs that kind of drowned it out. That gives them permission to be super loud. I found that men need permission to cry and women need permission to yell. And they get both in my class, right? And so I added that. And then I added these moments. I call them the heart moments, where you reach out and you pull in a moment of gratitude from your life. And then you go through a bunch of the moments of gratitude and you pull out and you reach out and you grab in wholeness and serenity and love and all these different things. Because I don't want you to leave like, yeah, I just released a trauma from my childhood. I want you to leave filled with gratitude and love. So I realized that afterwards I was wide open. I was super vulnerable. My heart was wide open. And everybody who did the work was like that. I'm like, this is a perfect time to pull in moments into your heart and to be focused on what really matters in your life, what's really important. Because what the breath work does is it clears the decks. We all have stuff that's going on in our life. I'm stressed out about taxes. I'm worried about my kid, and this is going on. I've got this situation going on. I'm in a fight with my brother. It's all these things. And then I lay down and I do the breath work, and it literally just, all that shit goes away. Excuse my language. All that stuff goes away because it brings me back to my heart and what really matters. In a way, it's kind of like a near-death experience where you're like, I was so worried about all these things. They don't matter at all. It brings you to this place of what's really important is the love that I have for the people around me and the people around me that really matter in my life. It turns off your head. It turns off this noise in your head and it moves you into your heart, which is a whole other place to operate your life from.
You know what? And I can tell you, I felt like I had decades of stored trauma that were just stuck in me, that I really didn't think I had anymore because I'm not in that relationship for forever now. And I'm in a great relationship and I'm happy. But it's just like there's just something that's like my nervous system is always firing off and I can't seem to like calm that down. But doing that breath work, I'm not exaggerating, you guys. If you've never done this, you need to get a class, and he's not expensive at all. Plus you get 5 days of replays. It's fantastic. It's amazing value.
I have to say, thank you for saying that. I have to say, so there's a couple things there. One, I would do it for free because if people would do it, but people don't. I've learned if they don't pay attention and they don't do the work and they don't value it. If it's free, they won't even come. I can't tell you how many people I've offered it to for free and they're like, no, thank you. And then I have these big, like people paying me tons of money. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, what are you doing? This is incredible. So people don't value it and they don't do the work and they'll quit because the first 10 minutes are a little hard. They're a little uncomfortable. But I always say, you've done something harder in your life than lay on the floor and breathe. Come on. You're laying on your back. You're not even sitting up. You're laying down flat. You can do this. It's not that hard. The other thing I want to say is, you touched on this, and this is exactly what I experienced and what exactly everybody else experiences when they come to my class. I've done the work. I've done the therapy. I've done years of therapy. I've done Tony Robbins. I've done Joe Dispenza. I've done Hoffman Press. I've done all the things. And then I went to breathwork and I went, oh my God, there's so many things here and layers that I haven't touched on because it's living in my nervous system. Most of that work I did was in my head. I didn't do the work that was living in my nervous system. So this is a nervous system thing. This is a nervous system reset. This is stripping those old things that are living in your body that you don't even realize is in there still. It clears that stuff out. And it doesn't matter what the theme of the class is. You did, technology detox for social media news. The theme could be, release anger, stress, grief, whatever. The breath work is going to give you whatever it is you need in that moment. So the theme is kind of irrelevant. I weave that through the class, but if you did the replay tomorrow, again, the same exact class, you would have a different experience. You could do the replay 5 days in a row and have a different experience every single time you do the breath work, even though it's literally the same songs, me saying the same thing. Because you're peeling back layers in your nervous system of things that have been there your whole life.
I believe that. And then sorry, Lizzie, I believe that. And then when you kind of start to guide people and you're not really guiding them, you're just saying, like the one thing that really got me is, you said this one statement one time, you said, you're not broken. It's so crazy when you're in that state, whatever it is, which is you're fully conscious. It's nothing weird, but you're just in this completely relaxed state. Like you said, you get out of your head finally. And then someone tells you you're not broken, or someone tells you to reach up and to picture the most grateful moment or the grateful person or the grateful picture that you see and grab it and bring it down and open that golden door to your heart and put it in your heart and then feel your heart swell. Oh my goodness. Maybe just right now it sounds kind of silly, but honestly, it was incredible. I could literally feel just this incredible gratitude and this incredible release. And it was life-changing. It was really life-changing.
Thank you. Go ahead, Lizzie. Sorry.
No, all I was going to say was I had to hear my voice talk because this is what happens when you don't do your homework. Because Dina, I think it was, I don't know if it was yesterday, Dina was like, Lizzie, you have got to try this. This is great. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to try it. And then, because I worked full time during the day and time got away, but still, it's like, I know the powerful impact with a heart of gratitude. I know the powerful impact of breathing. For many different reasons, but the little value as an outsider, and I can say Dina's not normally one to just be so excited about these types of things. I think I get more excited about it than she does, and she was just 100%. So that said a lot to me, and now I'm jelly because I have nothing to talk about.
Well, you can do it. You're still going to get a chance, and you're going to do it. And you're still going to get a chance to do it. And this is pretty common, actually. It's a good example because people will go and then they'll have this incredible experience and they'll tell their friends, they'll tell their family about it. They're like, you don't understand, because you can't wrap your brain around the idea that something you've been doing your entire life unconsciously would have a transformational effect, would clear out stress, would clear out trauma, would clear out shame and years of anxiety and all these things, grief. You can't wrap your brain around it. You can't until you do it. I've sat there and told people till I'm blue in the face about this thing, overselling it, overemphasizing it. And they're like, yeah. And then they do it and they're like, I know you told me all this, but I still couldn't wrap my head around it until I did it. And it's different for everybody and it's different every time. Some people have a spiritual encounter with a higher power in the class. Some people see dead relatives. Some people heal traumas, physical ailments in their body. And that, I know I sound like a crazy person saying all that. I know that sounds wild. Like if I was on the other side of this, never having done breathwork before, I'd be like, come on, dude, this is ridiculous. You can't, you sound insane, like saying all those things. And I'm like, come do it and tell me I'm wrong. Come experience it and tell me I'm wrong, because the experience is immediate and it's undeniable. And I've been doing it for 15 years. I've done it with hundreds of thousands of people now at this point. I did a class in Switzerland last year that was 1,000 people in person. I did a class in a Tony Robbins event. I've done this, I think the Tony Robbins class was like 4,000 people online. Done it all over the world. And everybody has an experience. Now, some people don't like it. Some people, stuff comes up for them and they get freaked out by it. And they're like, this thing came up that was super traumatic. And I'm like, yeah, the breathwork didn't put that there. That's inside of you. The breathwork is just showing you that needs to be healed. That needs to be worked on, because that's going to cause problems in your health if it's living inside of you. Otherwise, it wouldn't have come up. It wouldn't be there if it was healed.
Absolutely. I got an epiphany of a major, deep anxiety that I had when I was a child. I had panic attacks and anxiety over a certain thing that I thought was going to happen to me when I was a little girl. And that came out. And I was looking at it just shocked. And again, it's so crazy because you're not even like think of a time that was horrible for you, or reach out to your ancestors, or you don't do anything weird like that. We're listening to Fleetwood Mac. You're saying some cool stuff about love and gratitude and not being broken, and you're enough, and wonderful things. And then this stuff just happens. And that's what I loved about it, because I can't say that you came up with all these woo-woo statements and guided me into this place and it was just all in my head. Like, I can't say any of that, because you just did some very basic, wonderful things. And this all happened organically. And it was so cool, because it doesn't matter what religion, what faith, lack of faith, what you are, who you are, you can make it a religious experience if you want to, because you can be grateful for the God you believe in and for what he's done for you and those things. So you can make it a spiritual, godly experience, but you don't have to. And that's what impressed me about it.
Yeah, I'm not trying to steer it in that direction. I had that experience the first time I did it, where I felt God. And I went to Catholic school and I grew up, with religion, but I never felt it. And I felt it. I felt it like someone punching me in the face. And other people have said that to me. I don't usually ever say that because I don't want to set up that expectation for people, because a lot of people don't have that experience. A lot of people have a totally different experience. So it's different for everyone. And I don't want to steer it in that direction. And I'm just here as a guide to kind of push you and to keep you safe. The breath work does the thing. I'm not the thing. The breath work is the thing. I'm just a guide trying to shine the light on the rocks and show you where to steer the ship and trying to keep you safe and push you a little bit, because it's uncomfortable for the first couple songs and I got to keep pushing you and be like, come on, we're almost there. So I'm like this trainer doing it, and you're the one doing the work. You're the one healing yourself. I say sometimes in the thing, waiting for somebody to show up and put their hand on your head and heal you. You're the one who's going to do it, right? You can ask for help. You can ask God to help you, and he will if you ask him. But you got, my buddy says this. He says, there's two of you in a boat. It's you and God, and one of you's rowing and one of you's steering the boat. And God don't row, he doesn't row. So you got to do the work. You got to do the work.
Okay. So this is what I'm dying to know. Explain to me scientifically how this works, because I understand we don't take deep breaths like ever, basically. I mean, I don't. So it was just some very, very deep breaths in a certain way. And tell me scientifically, what happens?
When I first started doing it, there was no science out there. And I was like, it was impossible. And so I've spent the last 15 years finding the science and, establishing that. So when we breathe, ideally, we want to be breathing in through our nose, down into our diaphragm, right? We take a breath in, we let it out, we relax, or we talk, right? Nonstop like I do. And so that's how we want to be breathing. That's how you want to be breathing when you're sleeping. You want to be breathing through your nose when you're walking, when you're out doing life. Most people, unfortunately, are not breathing that way. Most people are holding their breath a lot of their time and breathing really shallow up in their chest. Why? Because your emotions are down here in your belly, and you don't want to feel the emotions a lot of the time. We don't want to feel what's going on. It's like, I'm not going to deal with that right now. I'm just going to push that away. And then you start breathing really shallow because you don't want to go there. You start taking deep breaths, you're going to feel the emotions. Now, there's something else going on, which is when we breathe through our nose, it's rest and digest. It's the parasympathetic nervous system, right? That's rest and digest. That's how we relax ourselves. That's how we're doing box breathing and coherent breathing and all these other great breathwork techniques to calm our nervous system down, to relax our body, which is amazing. I love all those techniques. This technique is different. It's in and out through the mouth. It's very deep through the mouth. And the first breath is in your belly. And then you take a second breath into your chest, and then you short exhale. So we're kind of flipping that whole thing on its head. And someone goes, well, why would you do that? Why would you breathe into the sympathetic nervous system? That's fight or flight. I'm like, because that's where the trauma is stored. That's where all the stories are stored. That's where all your things that happened to you when you were 6 or 8 or last week, whatever, is stored in that sympathetic nervous system. And when we do this in a safe space, in a safe environment, we're actually able to release these things. When a rabbit gets chased by a fox and almost gets killed by the fox, it shakes to release that trauma that it just experienced. And this is one of our ways to release the trauma. And you can look this up online. One of my people, I was on a podcast the other day, looked it up, and AI literally says this. It says, yes, there are studies that show when we breathe in this way in a safe environment, we can release stored traumas and things that have happened to us. So there's science behind this. They've done this at Johns Hopkins Medical Institute with veterans with PTSD. And so there's more and more science on this every day. When I found it, there was none. It was all woo-woo and new agey. And so I had to kind of just get out there and do it. And that's what I've done. So I'm grateful for the science that's there now. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, that does make sense. Has anybody ever compared it to EMDR? Because I know EMDR also, I know it's eye movements while you're, you have to literally allow yourself to think about the trauma and be present with the trauma, and then you do the EMDR. Has anybody ever, I'm just wondering if anybody's ever compared this to that?
Yes is the short answer. I've had people go, I'm like, oh my God, this is as profound and maybe even more profound than EMDR. Like EMDR changed my life. So I wanted to go do EMDR because I was like, I need to go try that. And the woman's like, you don't have anything. And I was like, what? You don't understand. You don't know. I have lots of stuff. And she's like, you've done all the work around it. Right. And I was like, shit, like I wanted to do EMDR. And she's like, no, you've already done the work. There's nothing there. We sat and talked for a while. I was like, damn it, I want to try this. And
she
so
kicked you out of EMDR.
She's like, you're healed. I'm like, I'm not healed. I'm a mess. Just talk to my wife.
I'm bad.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it comes back to when you were talking earlier too, when you were talking about being broken. I don't know why we all have this lie inside of us that I'm not good enough. I'm not enough in some way, in some form. I'm just not enough the way I am. It's a lie. And that lie has been healed inside of me doing this work. And I've seen it get healed inside of a lot of people too. There's this therapist out there. She's amazing, Marissa Peer. And she works with all the celebrities, charges a fortune, and she just gets them to put little Post-its around the house that say, you are enough. And they put it up on the mirror and in the car. And I'm like, really? I'm sure she does more than that, but like, that's what it is. That's what this breath work does, is it makes you feel that enoughness. Since this podcast is about this, I say this in my class often, which is the only reason you would ever let someone treat you worse than you deserve, like, the only reason you would ever let someone treat you poorly is because somewhere inside of you, unconsciously, you feel that you deserve it. And it's hard for people to hear that. And when they start doing this work, they go, no, I deserve better than this. I see a lot of relationships end around this breath work because they start doing the work. They start taking care of themselves. They start loving themselves, and they go, you either have to show up for me like this, or you have to go.
So it kind of helps build that confidence on top of all the other stuff.
Yeah.
That empowers them.
Yeah.
So to speak. Yeah, I like that. That's cool.
Yeah, because here's what happens, and I've seen this a lot. I've had women come to me, and I go, "What's going on?" And they go, "There's this guy," and I go, "Okay, 2 minutes about the guy. Let's go." And they're the lawyer pleading both sides of the case, right? He's really great, and he does this, and he takes care of us, and he doesn't. And then I go, okay, what's the other side? And they go, well, he doesn't do this, and he's mean to. And they tell me the two sides of the case with this guy, and I go, great. Let's set the intention to see what is in your heart around this relationship, what the heart really wants for you in this relationship. And I already know the answer, but I need them to find it themselves. I'm trying to steer them in the direction of finding it themselves. So they lay down and they do the breath work and they sit up, and I go, so, and they go, he's not the one. He's not right for me. This isn't good. This isn't the relationship I need to be in. They're clear. They're crystal clear. The confusion that they came in with is completely gone. There's no question. And that because they're in their heart. They've turned off their head, they moved into the heart, and the heart knows exactly what's right for it. Now, what happens is a day, 2 days, 3 days later, the head turns back on and the fear kicks in, and the fear says, I don't really want to be alone. Oh, I don't want to go back on those dating apps. He's not that bad. So the fear keeps you in that relationship, the fear of being alone. And I'm like, no. Lay back down and do the breath work again and get back into your heart where you're fine, where you're whole by yourself. You don't need somebody else to complete you. If you're lonely, get a dog, get a cat. And what happens is when you do this work, you get that confidence and you go, you know what? I'd rather be alone than be treated poorly. And you build this power within yourself of I'm whole, I'm worthy, I'm complete just the way I am. I don't need somebody else. And guess what? Ironically, that becomes a magnetic quality that people are attracted to. and then they start coming out of the woodwork. But when you're whole and you don't need somebody else to complete you or for you, it's just such a beautiful, powerful place to live your life from.
Well, and it's kind of part of the empowering part is being able to really let it go. I mean, we always say, just let it go. Let's roll it off your shoulder. But there's something about that internal part of us that when we can really, truly let it go, I think that is where healing it goes in very deeply into each person.
Yeah.
Well, I just don't think we know how to let it go. Oh, that's easy to say. Let it
Well,
go.
yeah,
What?
it is.
How? Those traumas get trapped inside of you, especially if you've been in a long-term relationship. Like, you don't know how to be anybody else. Like, this is where you function. This is where you survive. This is what you built your identity around.
That's
And
what I was
so,
saying at the beginning. Sorry to interrupt.
no,
Right?
good. No, yeah.
Remember I
Yeah.
said that at the beginning? This is what your identity, my identity was around my looks. People's identity is around their marriage, their relationship, right? And that identity is stripped away. And then who am I? Who am I without my looks? Who am I without this marriage?
Right, exactly. And so you start to feel like I am not worthy. And you question even, I mean, would anybody even want me? I mean, I'm broken. And that's another thing is the abuse, and especially those covert, like manipulative, gaslighting, the really covert stuff that you don't really even know you're being abused. And it just hacks away at your identity so incredibly. And you don't even know it's happening. It's like the frog in the water when it just slowly starts to boil. But then you get stuck. You just get stuck. You're like, yeah, okay, I want to let it go. Sure. Okay. Well, I guess that means just I'll start working out. I'll get a better job. I'll rebuild myself. But those are all external things. In there somewhere, there's this trauma that's stuck that won't leave. And so we start awful habits to try to drown all that out. But yeah, I agree with the however many years of therapy you said in one session.
20 years of therapy. I didn't make that up. Somebody said it to me, and then I heard it over, and then I heard it again, and I heard it from all these people that were coming from my class. And I said, I'm going to put that on my marketing stuff and on my website and stuff. And I thought therapists were going to get pissed when they read that. This is like 20 years of therapy without saying a word. And ironically, therapists send more people to me than any other profession. I get more clients and students from therapists because they want them to come have these experiences and then go back and process it and talk about it with them. So any therapist that's done this work knows that there's a thing that takes place of the healing in the nervous system. In fact, I did a class for a therapist kind of co-op, and it was like 25 therapists in the co-op. They were all therapists. They brought me in to just do a private class for them. And it's incredible. I love it. And I love that they're sending people to me and we're doing the work on people together. And so it's just about finding out that you're worthy, you are worth it, you're worth showing up, and letting go. We were talking about letting go. Lizzie was talking about letting go. All of spiritual growth is about learning how to let go, I believe. Learning how to let go of the idea of who I think I was supposed to be. I didn't want to be a breathwork guy. I wanted to be a famous movie star, and God had me work with famous movie stars and show me that this isn't the life you want. This isn't what it's cracked up to be. This isn't purpose and fulfillment. I'm going to give you something better. And so I had to let go of the idea of who I thought I was supposed to be so I could step into my destiny, which was to help all these people with this incredible breath work. And and that's what I've gotten to do. And it keeps me in my purpose. It keeps me in fulfillment. Happiness is going to come and go, but I have purpose. I have fulfillment. I get to help people. I've changed thousands of lives on the planet. I know that without question. And that makes me feel good about myself. That gives me self-esteem. That gives me self-worth. When I got sober, I had very low self-esteem. And they told me, if you have low self-esteem, then you need to do esteemable acts. And I'm like, well, okay, what's an esteemable act? And I thought, well, what would make me feel good about myself? And I went and did this thing called Big Brothers of America. It was like a mentor program. And I mentored this young kid who had no father or male, figure in his life. And I mentored him for a while. And I was like, wow, I feel amazing every time I do this. And then I started helping people with sobriety, helping guys get sober. And I got to change a lot of lives that way. And then I found this work and I was like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I mean, I didn't even want to do it at first. Everyone noticed the change in me because I was doing it every day when I found it. And my clients and friends were like, dude, are you medicated all of a sudden? Like, why are you so happy? Why are you so present? What's going on? You're a different guy. They noticed I was a different guy. I was literally doing it every morning. And I said, I'm doing this weird breathing thing. And they're like, what is it? It's just, I don't know. It's weird. You lay on the floor and you breathe. And it wasn't the class that you did. It was this woo-woo new agey thing. So I didn't want to tell people about it, right? I was embarrassed. And they're like, show me. And I'm like, oh God, okay. Well, we have to do a session privately. And so I did sessions with people and they had the experience. And they're like, that was the most incredible thing I've ever experienced. And then this woman asked me to teach a class at her studio. I don't want to teach a class. I don't want people to know I'm doing this. I've never taught a class before. And she goes, you'd be amazing at it. And I go, oh, all right, I'll do a class. And I did a class and Matthew Perry came to one of those classes. He came to one of my first classes and he's like, this is your gift. This is what you're supposed to do. And I said, I don't know. He knew it before I did. And then he showed up a couple years later when it was sold out, like 200 people. And he's like, I told you this was your gift. I'm getting emotional.
I'm so sorry that you lost him. I can't even imagine. I'm so sorry.
Well, it's a little tender in this moment, ironically, because somebody sent me this thing this morning. They're auctioning off his stuff. And I was like, oh, and I was like looking through the auction and it's things that I had conversations with him about. There's this ping pong table that he had. He taught me how to play ping pong, right? And we played hours and hours on this ping pong table. I'm like, do I bid on the ping pong table? This is horrible. Like, I mean, it's good because it's going to a good cause. It's going to the foundation to help people with drug addiction. But at the same time, it's just, I say this all the time, that grief is love with no place to go. And I love him. I miss him. I want to have a conversation with him. I can't. And that's okay. That's what grief is sometimes. And I've done so much work around it. And you see me getting emotional. I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that. When I was a kid, I grew up in this area in Boston that didn't allow for that kind of vulnerability. And it was really hard for me to be vulnerable where I grew up. And it was a difficult thing. It's like your greatest wounds can become your greatest gift. And one of the things I do in my class, if it comes up, I let myself be vulnerable. You know, Landslide, certain songs, they crack me open. And I'm getting vulnerable in the class. People can hear that in my voice and it allows them that vulnerability because what comes from the heart goes to the heart. So when they hear me getting vulnerable, they start to get vulnerable. And I think that's part of my gift with this breath work is that I allow the vulnerability in the class, that I'm allowing myself to get emotional. And it happens almost every time. And it's just, I want to be moved. I don't want to just teach a friggin' class. I want to be moved and I want to move people. That's what I want to do in my work.
And that's the beauty of it, because I truly believe, and Dina and I have said this many times, need people they can connect with. And none of us can connect with people that just seem way up here. They're not transparent emotionally, not like letting their heart wide open, but just allowing that little bit of vulnerability, which people that have been through some trauma, sometimes they close that heart up and they become bitter, right? So that is a beautiful thing to give
Thank
people
you.
surrounding you, truly.
That pain, it can make you bitter or it can make you better. And you get to decide what you're going to do with it. And so I've made this choice. I really have made a choice to live with an open heart. And it's not always fun. It's not always comfortable. I think everybody wants to let in the joy and the happiness and the gratitude and the love, but they want to close themselves off from the sadness and the grief and the disappointment and the anger and the frustration. It's not how it works. You can't open your heart to gratitude and love and let that in and close it off from the other stuff. You got to decide. So I've made a decision to allow it all. And you know what? Sometimes anger is the appropriate emotion, right? Like we don't want to feel angry because we think there's something wrong with that, or we don't want people to see that. But like sometimes people do things that make you angry. That is the appropriate emotion for the situation when somebody does something terrible to you. And then it's oftentimes anger is the mask that sadness wears. So I want to get past the anger and allow the sadness, which is, yeah, I'm really hurt that this person did this to me because I love them. And now we're not friends, or now we're not together, or now we're not, you know what I mean? So especially for men, you know, anger is an acceptable emotion for a man, right? But sadness, vulnerability is not for some reason in our society. So I want to get past the anger, allow the sadness, and guess what? Now I'm not storing it in my nervous system. The feeling requires to be felt, or else it comes out, uglier ways. It comes out in different ways. And people used to tell me that all the time, that I was overreacting. You're overreacting, Jon Paul. And I'm like, no, I'm not. But I was overreacting because I had all this stuff stored inside of me. And then something here would happen. And my reaction, something would happen on a level 3, but my reaction would be a level 9 because it was the old stuff was all being triggered. That's the word now, triggered and coming up inside of me. Now, my emotions are appropriately sized. So that doesn't mean I never get angry. That doesn't mean I never get upset or sad or whatever. It's just the right amount for the situation because I've done the work around it. And if it's not, then, hey, guess what? That's a red flag for me to be like, hey, dude, you need to go do some work. You need to go walk the talk, So
Definitely. And so with that, is there a certain number of sessions that people should kind of count on doing, or is it really super individual and it could be one session for one person and 20 for another? What would you say around that?
That's a great question. I think you should do a couple sessions at least, because some people get so sort of shocked and surprised by the physical stuff that happens in their body that they don't even get to the emotional stuff the first time. Because like I tell you everything that's going to happen to you physically in your body and you still don't believe me. And then when it happens, you're like, oh my God, all this weird stuff's happening to me. I'm like, I told you that was going to happen. Why didn't you believe me? And
because you don't believe it. You don't.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I'm breathing.
I literally say that in the thing. I go,
I know you said it. I didn't believe you. I'm sorry. You did say it. You really did say it. But I was like, okay, I'm doing some deep breathing, and then I'm
Jon
gonna
Paul,
get.
I told you, she's not.
I am a skeptic. I'm sorry. There's
I'm a
too many.
skeptic too. I'm a cynic and I'm a skeptic, and I think things are ridiculous. I have to be proven wrong.
Yeah, and same. Especially with these kinds of things, it's just like,
yeah,
all right, you're gonna make money.
And someone's listening. Don't believe me, please. Don't believe me. Come prove me wrong. Come do it. Have an open mind. Everybody thinks they have an open mind, even people who don't. And have an open mind and do something different that you've never done before. If you want to level up, if you want to change anything in your life, you have to be willing to try something different. And it
is scary. It is scary. I will tell you, it's scary. Not in a I'm falling off a cliff way, but when I first started doing it and I started feeling all those weird physical things, like you said, my feet were tingling like crazy. My hands were tingling crazy. I was feeling dizzy. I was feeling floaty. I was feeling kind of not weak, but like so relaxed. I was like, is this bad? Is this? And of course I was doing a replay, so I couldn't ask you anything. I'm like, is this best? Is my spot? You kept saying it. You're going to feel it's okay. You're fine. And one person in the class was like chatting, like on the real class was like, I'm dizzy, but I'm really dizzy. And you're like, you're okay, but you can start breathing through your nose if you want to take it down a notch. So I took it down a notch and realized I'm fine. Then I went back to the deep breathing. But the thing is, I think that a person with anxiety, not only does it feel scary because you're like, am I at the slumber party where you breathe real deep and you grab each other and pass out? That's probably dating myself, because we did that way back when, and that was not a healthy thing to do. But you start to feel like you might pass out, but then you also start to feel like, oh my gosh, what if all these really hard, awful things come out anxiety wise, and then I feel like I'm in a panic or something? What if these things come out that I can't control? And I think that was the part that I was scared of, because I started to feel like I can actually probably start to feel things that I have not let myself feel because I was too afraid of what would happen. Like, would it, if you face the giant, the giant that's causing your anxiety, or one of the many giants in some cases, what's it going to do to you? Like, what's it going to do? Are you going to now feel out of control? And that out of control thing is terrifying. So I could see why this would be so important to have somebody like you guiding that person.
Yeah.
To tell them it's okay. This is normal. Relax. You're going to feel some things. It's okay. And then that way, that whatever comes out, it needed to come out, and you're going to be all right. It's not going to harm you. But it might be that people just say, oh, I don't believe in it, but they're really kind of scared of it. I think I truly just didn't believe in it. But then I kind of started getting scared. I was like, because
something's actually happening. I didn't expect
something's happening physically, even though you kept saying it. You even described every symptom. This is probably going to happen. This is probably going to happen. This is probably, you were.
Here's the thing I need to say. First of all, for everyone listening, there are 0 reported incidences of anything bad happening during this breath work. Nothing bad has ever happened. I've been teaching it for 15 years. I've never had anything bad happen. With that said, I have had people freak out, right? Like, that's the worst thing that's ever happened, is someone didn't believe me, didn't think that what I told them was going to happen happened. And then they're like, oh, my hands are cramping up or whatever. And it's like, and then 20 minutes later, they're totally fine. And I joke about that meme, like, but did you die? They're like, oh, it was really scary. I'm like, you're fine. You're completely fine. So that's why I say people need to do it a handful of times. And what you were just describing too, there's a lot of layers there left for you. There's a lot more for you to strip away and dig. So you don't have to do it with me. I'm not trying to build a cult following or anything weird like that. You can just do it one time with me and then do it on your own. I'm really good at keeping you safe, at pushing people and changing it up for people and guiding people. So a lot of times people will come to my class on Sundays, or they'll do the replay. There's a 5-day replay afterwards, and because they live in different time zones, so the time doesn't work for them, right? So they just do the replay. I have people from all over the world who are doing that. And they want me to guide them, and they come for a while. They come for a couple months, and they get this healing. And then they finally get to a place where they're like, I think I'm done. I think I'm done. So that depends on you. I've had people get there in a couple sessions, and I had this woman, I'll never forget her. And this was in my live class. I was doing this class every single week in Santa Monica, California. And this woman came, and she was right beside me every time. And she was just crying and like so intense. And I think she was 7, 8, 9 months in. And she's like, when am I going to be done? And I go, honey, just keep doing the work. It's beautiful. Like keep showing up. And then she showed up, and she was glowing, and she's a different person. I literally watched her change into this other woman in front of my eyes. And then she showed up with her new guy, and she was like, this is my new guy. It was this incredible journey. And I've watched so many people do that. I've watched so many people transform their entire life through this work. And I love that. And then some of them turn around and come train with me and learn how to take other people through. And I love that, because now they're out there doing this work. And these are people. I had this woman much older woman, and she showed up, and she's like, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. Yes, you are. Just trust the process, right? And she's like, I don't know. I'm not confident. I've never taught anything. Claudia, stay with it, honey. Just trust the process and let me guide you, and just do the work for the next 4 days, please. And now I see her online leading retreats, doing these breathwork sound baths, doing all these things. It's incredible. She's got this thriving business, and she's helping people, and she's changing lives. And I got to be a part of that. That woman had no confidence in herself. That woman didn't think she could do this. And now she's there changing lives. I love that. Like, that fills me up even more than just doing a class with somebody where I helped create somebody who's now out there changing lives. And so I tell people, yes, it's a little uncomfortable at first, right? But everything you want is on the other side of your comfort zone. The life that you want, the life you've been looking for, is in the work that you've been avoiding. So come do the work, show up. It's only hard. Yes, we breathe for 30 minutes, but it's really only the first 10, 15 minutes that it's a little uncomfortable and a little weird and a little hard. It kind of takes over in the second 15 minutes. And you're laying on your back, breathing a certain way. You've done harder shit in your life than lay on the floor and breathe. A hike is more physically difficult, but sometimes your brain freaks out from it, because there's a thing that can happen. Let's talk about this, called transient hypofrontality. Part of the prefrontal cortex of your brain can turn off in this incredible way. It's the area in your brain where the critic lives, where the ego lives, that tells you you're not enough. And it also it protects you. Your brain's job is to protect you, but it doesn't want you to shut it off. So it fights you. It tries to trick you to stay on. It tells you, like, something's wrong. He told you this was going to happen, but you're having a stroke. You're freaking out. You're getting dizzy. You're going to pass out. It does all these little tricks to try and stay on and get you to stop. And you have to just override that, at least your first couple times. And then once you do it a couple times, you're like, oh, I'm totally safe. This is totally fine. And then you can kind of embrace it and start to get the deeper layers of healing that are down in there. You get past all the physical stuff, and you go, okay, let me start to get the deeper layers. I have people that have come into me for years, and they go, oh, today I healed something incredible.
Yeah, I think that makes complete sense, because I think a person who has anxiety, you need to feel in control, because if you feel out of control, especially of your body, that really hypes your anxiety. So that makes total sense, because you start to feel like,
it does scare people with anxiety sometimes in the beginning, because it can kind of almost feel like anxiety in the beginning, right?
Exactly. It can feel like an anxiety.
What is anxiety? Anxiety is about control, like you said, but also being in the future. I gotta control this, and I worry about the future, worry about things that are going to happen or may never happen, and all this, like. And what this work does is it actually turns that off. If you can get past that, it turns off all that future tripping. It
Mhm.
turns off being in the past, and it gets you right here present in the moment where everything's fine. So it's actually an incredible tool for anxiety, but you have to get past that little part in the beginning that wants to give
When
you
your
the
brain
anxiety.
is screaming at you, something's
Yeah.
wrong, I'm all tingly, I'm all weird, I feel dizzy.
Yeah.
You have to get past that and just shut it down. But
You really hit on that. Yeah, that it does freak some people out with anxiety, but I can almost always get them past it. Every once in a while, there's someone it's like their anxiety is, their brain is so taken over control of their life that they just can't. They can't. And it's like,
yeah.
wow, you really
Yeah,
need to
that's
turn off
sad.
your brain and move into your heart. It's a bummer. They've let it consume them, and their
Yeah.
fear has become so great that now they need medication. And I'm not knocking medication. Medication is great if you need it, but it just turns off the alarm. It doesn't put out the fire. The fire is still burning inside of you. The root of the problem is still going on inside of you. I've seen a lot of people come to my classes and get off the anxiety medication and get off the depression medication. So I don't want to make those promises, but I've seen it a lot.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I could totally see that. And the thing is you really are in control during the classes, even though you're allowing yourself to relax and to breathe nice and deep and to get in that really super calm state. You still are in control, because at any moment you can start, breathing through your nose and just kind of taking it down a notch. And, and I did that a couple of times just to test whether it would work, and it did. So it's nice because it's not like your body's just taking off without you and you have no control. And it's not like that.
I actually came up with that for online. So I was the first person to ever do this type of breath work online. And I wanted to empower people to be like, if this is too much for you, you can stop it by closing your mouth, breathing through your nose, and sort of pulling back the whole experience. We're not in the jungle doing ayahuasca, puking into a bucket together, people. You're in charge of yourself and your experience. So like, if it's too much, and now I say that in my in-person classes too, as well. And I tell my students that, like, when you empower people to take care of themselves and know that if it's too much for them, they can pull it back at any time by doing that. Now they're in a safer space and they can actually go deeper into the work. So I started doing that in my online classes and empowering people. And yeah, and sometimes I'll tell someone, I can see they're it's too much for them, or they went too hard, too fast. They didn't really follow the instructions all the way, and they're totally tweaked out with their hands. And I'm like, close your mouth, breathe through your nose. You can take breaks whenever you want. And so I've empowered people to take care of themselves.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a really good thing. Yeah. And so, okay, Lizzie, anything else you've got?
No, I just need to go do my homework.
Yeah, I can't wait. If you want to come to the live class, Lizzie, I'll be looking at you. But come on, Lizzie, if you leave your camera on. But you don't have to. You can do the replay. You can turn your camera off. It's totally up to you. But I love to see people doing it, especially when they're new. That way, I can coach them, because a lot of times I show the technique and people don't realize they're closing their mouth and breathing through their nose. They think they're breathing through their mouth. And I'm like, no. If your lips are together, you're not breathing through your mouth. They go, and I'm like, no, you're breathing through your nose. Like, push your nose and breathe through your mouth. So I have to coach them.
It's a hard one because
it's a habit.
It's habitual, right?
Yeah. And it's how you're supposed to breathe, for sure. You're supposed to breathe through your nose. So you're doing something that's not normal. That's a little different.
Mm-hmm. Well, you never know, Jon Paul. You never know.
I know. I can't wait to see you, Lizzie.
On it, and that's a hard sell right there.
You're gonna have an emotional release in the second song, Lizzie, because it's sitting there waiting for you. Listen, I've been doing this a long time. I can tell it's going to cry, and you're going to cry the second song and maybe for the next 3 songs, and that's okay. And then you can come back to it when you're ready. And I tell people, like, if you start crying on the first or second song, that just means you've been holding it in there too long. It's just a sign to go like, hey, I need to take care of myself here. Like that's.
Yeah, I cried. I definitely cried. I cried really good and hard. And like I said, I
didn't know that.
I did. I cried really hard. I'm not a crier. I don't do that.
No,
and
I'm a crier.
Yeah, she's the crier. I'm not. And I did. Boy, I did. I let it go. And it was just the dog who was staring at me like I was a freak. But that's okay. Especially when I did the yell. He was like, woo!
You didn't follow my instructions, which was get the dogs out of the room, get the pets,
I know.
the emotional support alligators and peacocks, get them all out of the room.
I know.
Here's the thing.
He's not
emotional. A dog's job is to take care of us. They actually will take on our pain. There's
Well, you said
studies that show
emotional
that.
support dog. He's not
Yeah.
emotional. He's actually really dumb. He's very dumb. So I thought you meant like the actual kind that they wear the little thing, like an emotional support
I
dog. I
know.
thought that's the kind of dog you meant. And I was like, oh, he's too dumb. But no, he was all, whoa.
Yeah.
Big
What's
dog.
going
He's
on?
a Great Dane. So imagine that.
Yeah. No, they see that you're, having this experience and they want to take care of you. And it's great that they do that, but you need them out of the room when you're doing the work.
I'll have to remember that because my dog, he does not like being out of the same room with me at all when I'm
Yeah.
home. And I
Well-
really appreciate the fact that you really have a heart to even make it affordable for many people.
Yeah.
And that's a special gift
Thank you.
for sure.
I would do it for free. I really would. I don't need the money at this point. I would do it for free if people actually did it, and but they won't. And so I have to charge for it. And it's a bummer because I want more people to get this. And so that's why I try to make it affordable for people. And I see students come train with me and then they charge these ridiculous prices. And I just like, oh God, why are they doing that?
And
Why are you pricing people out? Like, stop it.
Here you are. You've worked with Owen Wilson, Matthew Perry, Kirsten Ritter, and a whole host of, I'm sure, other actors and famous people. And I look and I was
Justin
like, oh, this
Bieber.
class is going to be. And Justin Bieber?
Selena Gomez, Justin Bieber, Kate Beckinsale. The list goes on and on and on and on.
There you go. And so you are like podcasting with our little cute little Small Potatoes podcast, and you're helping people that are just average people at it, like Lizzie said, an average price. Really commendable. I have to thank you. Truly, I never would have even known about this. I probably in my entire life would have never found it out. I really
That's
appreciate.
why we're doing this.
Thank you.
That's why I want to share it with people like you who would never know about it, who would never find it. That's what I'm trying to do here. That's my mission, is to try and share it with your audience so that they can go do it. And they heard you have this experience, they trust you, and they go, all right, if Dina had this experience, I'm going to try it. And they go try it and they go, oh my God, this is the thing that I've really needed. That's going to help me heal from this grief. That's going to help me heal from this breakup, whatever.
Yeah.
And so that's why.
And then
you're
training people. You're training people to do their own classes, which is also amazing. And I might hit you up for that because I think that would be an incredible thing to do for our audience.
Yeah, and I only do it in person twice a year. I'm doing it in September in Calabasas, California, and I have them online. I have the training courses online. So if you can't make the training in person, and there's all this transformational stuff in the training itself. So you do the work, you do some deep work in there, and you learn how to safely take people through this process. And so people who come to the training, they go, that was the most incredible thing I've ever done for myself. And I'm like, yeah. And then I have Q&As that I do with my students every quarter that, they are supported with me on this journey, and I don't charge them for that. So it's really powerful to do the training. And some people, I tell them, even if you're not sure if you want to teach this, but you want to go deep into the work with me, come do the training. When I started doing this, I was never going to teach it. And here we are. So like, if you just want to come do the work with me, come to the training anyways.
That's fabulous. Yeah.
Yep. Sounds good. Wow. I can't thank you enough. And thank you again for your time today. Tell us where we can find you, Jon Paul.
My website is called Breathe with JP. BreatheWithJP. Some people do breath with JP. It's breathewithjp.com. And you can find the classes there. I have another website for the online courses, but that website will lead you to everything, including the online class that we just discussed. So find me there. I'm on all the socials, but the website's the fastest, easiest way to find all the things.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
That was fantastic.
Thank you.